Wollongong City GWM.
Welcome to Saturday League Kickoff.
Welcome to Saturday League Kickoff. Scott Sattler, Andrew Webster here. The first look into what has happened over Friday night, both games last night, and some impressive performances. One of the potential games of the season, I've got to say. And welcome to all our Fox League viewers and all those that are listening through the SEN network and on the SEN app as well. Hope you've had a great start of the weekend. Hope we can make it even better. Andrew Webster, first and foremost, you were not here last week.
I wasn't.
Happy 50th birthday.
Thank you, Satts.
Who was best on ground that we know of? Outside of your family.
What version of that answer would you like? Look, one of the Johns boys performed quite well.
Yep.
You're right. My family, they performed very well. It was a pretty sedate affair.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Very.
I don't believe
you don't believe that at all.
I don't believe you for one moment. Anyway.
Look, let's just say the integrity unit is still investigating, so I can't say too much at this stage.
So Adrian Prasenko filled in admirably last week.
I hope it wasn't too good.
Well, we talked about the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Good man, the Russian.
What's going to happen with the good, the bad, and the ugly? He said the good, the bad, and the ugly is going to happen all in one night at Andrew Webster's 50th.
And that's pretty much right.
So happy birthday, mate.
Thanks, Satts.
Welcome to the next chapter of your life.
Oh, good.
It's
the last chapter.
It's all exciting.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's all downhill from
male
here.
menopause now. That's what you can look forward to.
I feel like I've had that for years, actually.
Hey, coming up on the show, we've got Jason Ryles from the Parramatta Eels who's going to join us. He'd be a very happy man. He'd be sleeping well thanks to temper this morning because his team were very impressive last night.
They were. There's obviously something building there at Parramatta. It's funny, we get very trigger happy in this game. There's lots of debate about Jason Ryles after a few games, whether he made the right decision in terms of recruitment. I wasn't one of them. I was always saying, let's give the guy some time. A little bit the same like Michael Maguire at Brisbane, which we're going to talk about later in the show. But there's something building there, and they just look like a different team, don't they? With Mitchell Moses there, and Dylan Brown's obviously settled down.
Dylan Brown looks like a completely different player.
I dare say he looks like a $13 million player. But that was a great performance from Parramatta. I mean, they've been pushing teams quite a lot the last few weeks, and that was a win that they deserved. On the flip side, though, bit of drama at Newcastle.
I'm always, I'm always the optimist. You
are an eternal optimist.
I romanticise when it comes to rugby league. So from the Knights fans' point of view, we've already got one here, 331, who's texted and said, I've been a Knights fan for a long time. I've supported the last 4 years, but we've got to make some big decisions at the Knights. The positive side of what happened last night is that Dylan Brown was outstanding, and his combination with Kalen Ponga is something that Knights fans should be excited about.
They should be.
Yep.
That said, though, 3 wins. That team should be doing better than 3 wins.
Yeah, you're right. Also, Bulldogs half Toby Sexton this is a young guy that, again, everyone's questioned about his ability to step up at first grade level on a week-to-week basis. He's got this coach, Cameron Ciraldo, who's believed in him. He said, here's the keys to the side. I want you to work with Matty Burton and all these experienced players, and he's playing great rugby league. He's going to join us also in the second hour of the show, and his performance was great. But that game last night, we're going to talk about that very soon. It was one of the best of the season.
For mine, it was the game of the year with the try of the century from Mark Nwanganitawase.
Good work.
Yes,
Great work.
Finally said it right the first time.
Yeah, and the big news of the week, there has been, obviously, it's all been about Origin. Who's going to make it, who's not going to make it. We're hearing the last couple of days that there's a potential informed player in the NRL that may miss out on a Blues jersey. Going to touch on that very soon. Lockie Galvin's in the news again, but we're led to believe it's not what people are thinking.
Ooh.
You're going to take over there. Madge as well, the Brisbane Broncos, we're both quite strong on this angle as well. And the Bears. And there's been some mention about, was it Brad Arthur 3 weeks ago? Is it now another candidate that could take over the Bears in that first year of 2027? Plenty to talk about here this morning, but like we do each and every Saturday morning, we'll kick off with Saturday Spotlight.
The Spotlight.
What do you got, Webby?
I can't go past the try.
Yeah.
That in a losing team, that was one of the shining lights for the Roosters, with many shining lights for the Roosters. But Mark Nwanganitawase, sorry, Mark, I'll get it right eventually. That was one of the most incredible things I think I've ever seen covering sport. His ability to get his the ball to his right foot, and then working in about a 6-inch gap to get the ball down just in the corner there of the in-goal area was something special. I'm just trying to think of a try like it.
Can you remember years ago at same stadium at a call? That wasn't a call last night, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so at a call. Can you remember Paddy Richards? I think he's playing for West Tigers, went down the left hand. It was the northwestern touchline. As he was about to get dumbled out, he somehow put it on his foot and kicked it in.
That's right.
And another Tigers player scored.
Yeah.
But the presence of mind of Marky Mark, Nwanga Nituasi, to kick it out of the field, get back into the field to play both feet and get the ball down, it was sublime.
Absolutely. I tell you what, he came up with a few great touches. Obviously, the flick pass to Toya, who should have scored the try but didn't. Was something special. He will play Origin next year. There you go.
I was going to say,
he'd have to go pretty close.
Yeah.
I know Lomax
have
is on
you
that
walked
same
up alongside him yet?
I've seen him a few times.
He is massive.
He's enormous. But I mean, to make that transition from rugby union so quickly, I can see why the Roosters went after him. So he is my Saturday spotlight.
Yeah, great recruiting by the Roosters. Mine is Terrell May. So May not make Blues debut. Do you like what I've done there?
I can sort of see what you're doing.
Yeah, so on face value, you would think that on form, after a 64-point nil also, that his numbers for the West Tigers, only forward to run over 100 metres, 53 tackles, and on face value, you'd think he would deserve a position in the 17. Now, many are starting to question that, and most notably from reports, Laurie Daly's one of those as well. And this is purely not from a form point of view. On face value, it's more peeling the layers back and saying, yes, he does a lot of defence, but is a lot of his physicality on first contact, is it effective? Is it effective enough? The other thing is apparently personality. And does he gel right with everyone when you come in for only 8 or 9 to 10 days that you've got them for? Can that person make a real positive impression on the group first and foremost? Quite a unique sort of person, I'm led to believe. Doesn't gel with everyone and can be quite flippant and cocky at times.
Yeah. And
in a playing group, that is, you've got to be able to get on top of that really early when you're doing what you call short-term coaching. Laurie Daly's doing short-term coaching. But also, I don't know where you've seen this. There's something that's emerged over social media where looks like he's got a headphone on playing social media like a gaming with someone and having a conversation talking about, that blue jersey I gave you could throw it in the bin.
Oh.
If you're going to make comments like that about some adversity that's been put before you about possible representative duties, you're not the kind of player others want to play with.
Good old social media.
Yeah.
What would we do without it?
I know. Hey, you can get involved in the show anytime, like a lot of our listeners and viewers have already done. 0457 736 736 is the number. But also we love it when you give us a call. If you love to hear your voice on TV and radio, you can do that by 1300 01 1170. Let's get to that game last night that you briefly touched on. The Bulldogs 24 up against the Roosters 20. Amazing game. And the Bulldogs again have been able to come from behind and get the win. Roosters 14-0?
Yes, they were 14-0
at the break. Yeah. So we've seen this before, haven't we? Because we saw with the Bulldogs when they played the Bulldogs back in round 8, and they suffered a beatdown in that first half of the Brisbane Broncos, didn't they, Webby? And that game was always going to be about, okay, well, now you've got some adversity. How are you going to answer all these critics who believe that your front runners after not playing too many potential top 4 sides, but they came out and scored 3 tries, and it's really set them up and steeled them because they did it again last week against the Raiders.
They did. It's funny, after that 50-14 loss to the Broncos in the first round, and then a few weeks later they got lost to the Titans. People remember that one, 30-12. And people were saying, look, it's a rebuilding year. People were talking about, questions about whether Trent Robinson should still be the coach of that side and whether it was time for a change. And there was obviously a lot of questions about the Roosters' recruitment, which I still think they deserve a lot of that criticism because it has been ad hoc in many ways. But the way that they defended, I know they ended up losing last night, but the way they defended, and I think that would be the disappointing thing for Trent Robinson, the way that they defended for a lot of that game, they look like the Roosters of 18-19 when they won the comp.
Yep.
That Roosters defence, which has been the cornerstone of their success, in the era that's sort of just gone. I thought the Toya, the Toya non-try.
I think it was a try, but anyway. I'm okay with it. If it comes away from the hand and they want you to re-grip it. But I think if you're coming down on the ball and
have a fingernail on it,
I'm happy for it.
It's a knock-on.
Well, in the interpretations it is, but
it is.
They're not always right.
Imagine the rules.
Played it fast.
The bunker got it right.
Played at normal speed.
Can I change my spotlight? The bunker got it right. Well done, bunker. But to be honest though, the way that the Dogs managed to come back like they did, and we talk about chemistry in football teams. The chemistry that is obviously in that side to come back from that and to grind out a win like they did was remarkable. One of the great subplots of the game, and I just feed so beautifully into Origin 1. I love a subplot.
Yeah.
Spotlights, subplots. It's very hard to keep up. Spencer Linu. Laurie Daly. I know you're going to pick him on the bench, but can you start him at Suncorp Stadium in that first Origin? I don't.
He'll start from the can bar. He'll come down the stairs, run on.
He'll have a can at the can bar, come down straight into the.
I was sitting with
straight
my son.
At Big Tino. It'll be fantastic.
I was sitting with my son last night at the log cabin in Penrith watching the game, and he said, "What about Spencer's first 20 minutes?" He dropped the ball off the kickoff. He knocked the opposition player out with possession of the ball, and then knocked on again from the kickoff.
I'm waiting for him to get a shoulder charge for using his shoulder when he when he ran into the Dogs' defence. He's I love watching him play. He sits there and he mouths off, and I know he's not everyone's cup of tea.
We need that.
That's what the game's about. Those type of characters. He was. It's such a. That's the subplot I got. You're right though, but he dropped 2 balls from 2 kickoffs.
Yep.
I don't know if Laurie Daly will be happy with that side of it, but when he's around the ball, something happens. So that was it was good to see him winding up like a angry teddy bear.
Now, Burton crashed over for the match winner, 73rd minute, put up a couple of those towering bombs, which we love to see. A lot of people are saying, is he going to be that smoky for that 14 jersey? Fight it out with Connor Watson. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on if we get to it as well. We can throw your thoughts in as well on the text line. Is round 11, is it the be-all and end-all for some players? Could it be you're in or you're out based on your round 11 form? I think there's a couple of players that round 11 could make or break them. So we're going to talk about that as well and send in your suggestions as well. From a Queensland point of view, I think Billy Slater would be happy that Lindsay Collins, back from injury, didn't play. His last game was round 5.
He was enormous, wasn't he?
It was great. Scored a try, and it's exactly, I think, what Queensland needed because they're a little bit thin when it comes to big front rows. Now, on the win last night, he's going great. Cameron Ciraldo, a lot of people, again, when he first came into the role, thought, was he going to be ready to be a first-grade coach? Well, the staff and the management have been patient with him, and now he's reaping the rewards in 2025. This is what he had to say after the win.
I don't want to get used to it too much. No, I think it's great for us as a team to deal with those situations. I think really similar to last week, the first half, the stats probably looked exactly the same. It was like 65-35% possession for long periods, and we made it pretty hard for ourselves. I thought we looked really tired in the first half because of that. At half time, I think it was awesome reference point to go back to last week and think about what we did there, and they did a great job in the second half.
He's very measured, always very measured, Cameron Ciraldo. But he's always great with building themes. That's like when he was at the Panthers. He came up with a lot of themes around grand finals. And I think if you give players those things that feel as though they're tangible, it goes a long way with motivating your players.
He's like he's very Bennett-like in the coach's box too.
Yeah.
Even when things were going wrong, he was just like an Easter Island statue going nowhere.
Now, you know what they remind me of, the Bulldogs, before we get to the break, and these second half sort of comebacks is back in the days when the Bulldogs were being trained, their conditioner was like Gary Carden and Billy Johnston and Steve Folkes when he was their conditioner as well before he was their coach.
The hardest trainers in the business.
Well, you just knew from that 65-minute mark onwards.
That's right.
That's when they were going to find another level.
Very similar.
And that's a really dangerous team to play against.
That's what that's all credit to Gus, really. Yep. Like, he has cast that club. He's returned the Bulldogs to what they used to be. And that's the way that they're playing, and that's why they have had just 1 loss this year and 2 wins ahead of the Warriors on the competition ladder.
Yeah. Hey, coming up next, we're going to catch up with Parramatta coach Jason Ryles, and in the second hour, we're going to catch up with Bulldogs half Toby Sexton as well about last night's comeback. This is Saturday League Kickoff. Scotty Sattler, Andrew Webster, and we'll be back very soon. Yeah, welcome back to Saturday League Kickoff, simulcast live on Fox League, KO, and also if all our listeners through the SEN network as well. It was a great win last night for the Bulldogs. Great come from behind win. I know that as a coach, it's not ideal but it also shows some really great signs as well. And Timbo, the Bulldog, on the text line 0457 736 736 has got a great text here, and I know this will be warming the heart of Cameron Ciraldo, who's about to Jason Ryles and all those great coaches that love the history of the game. He talks about the Doggies last night in front of all these past legendary captains for the 90th anniversary. Hope Steve Mortimer was watching from the nursing home. He would have been proud. So, yeah, love the show, guys. So, yeah, anyone who loves the history of the game always knows how important those legends of a game are. And, well, one club we do know that has a proud history when it comes to some of the greatest legends of the game, and the Parramatta Eels, and they were very impressive last night in the win against the Newcastle Knights. And we have their coach, Jason Ryles, on the line. How are you, Rylesy?
Hey, Sats, how are you, mate?
Going very well. Well, you're feeling a lot better, we know that, because you got a lot of your key players back on deck, and it just seems that now that you've got the captain steering the ship out there, Mitch Moses, that the things that you want to try and achieve as a team are starting to happen while he's there.
Yeah, it's definitely an easier watch the next day, that's for sure. But yeah, whilst at times it's been a little bit frustrating, it's also there's been a lot of good things there that we've seen that we've been working on, and with players improving and that type of thing. But like you said, having Mitch on board, Zach back as well, but in particular Mitch, just to have that experience and organisation, and also his kicking game is pretty invaluable to us at the moment whilst we're building our foundations as a footy team.
Rylesy, can I get to the most important question? I look at Nathan Brown sitting next to you in the coach's box, and I remember when he first started as a coach, he had these beautiful blonde flowing locks, and it all disappeared by the time he finished coaching. Are you worried that you're going to lose your beautiful grey mane like he did?
Well, I've got two daughters that remind me that it's getting a lot thinner at the top now. So, I think I've been on that path anyway, but this is probably going to accelerate it.
Stop the fight, brother. Stop the fight. Let me, in all seriousness, Rylesy, you must be happy with the way your team's performed. Obviously, since Mitchell has come back, you get your dominant halfback back in any side, the side's going to go better. There was criticism early on, Jason, about the recruitment decisions. Obviously, whether the club should have let Gutho go. Were you at any stage going, "This is harder than I thought it was going to be," or did you just realise, like most sane people, that it was early days?
No, it was just early days. I think if you go through our list, we've got about 7 or 8 guys under 30 games at the moment. So, and there's probably 4 or 5 like Isaiah and Kidione and those guys. They're under 10 games. So, whilst Isaiah had played first grade for Penrith, it was only his second game for us. So, we knew what we'd got there in Izzy, and I just know he's going to continue to get better as the more time he gets on the field. And I was never at all worried about the decisions we made in regards to our roster, and I think there's still a few more to come. So it's we're just going to continue to work on that and keep nurturing these young guys that are coming through. And if they take the opportunity and keep improving like they are, then they'll stay in NRL and we'll keep them there. So it's it just takes time, as you know, Webby, and I think Ciro is probably the best example of that at the Dogs.
Hey, Jace, now Zach Lomax, there's this, the many questions being asked about whether Laurie Daly would take in 2 wingers that have only had 1 game under their belt. But the game has changed so much with sports science and preparation and rehab. Give us a little bit of an insight into what he's been doing to get back on the field and why you would campaign and convince Laurie Daly that 1 game would be enough, because, again, last night he was outstanding.
Yeah. Things happen around Zach, and more often than not, they're good. So it's one of those things that I don't think he can probably explain sometimes, but he gets himself in those situations where he creates opportunities for our team. But then you add that to that is, his ability to sort of give us power out of yardage as well. So, but in regards to his rehab, so we've got a guy that just basically sort of works with those guys full time. So whenever they get injured, they go straight to Jack, his name is, and he works with our injured guys, and Zach's been no different, and he's had a real good block of training before he came back and played. So whilst they've been out injured, it's not like they don't do anything. They got all their markers that they've got to tick off before they get back to play, but a lot of that's got to do with condition as well. So they can give themselves the best chance to come back from whatever injury it is. So he's had a real good block of training, and I think you've seen that last night where he sort of hit the ground running.
Jack sounds like a guy that they've got in this dark bunker, underground basement that they just throw everywhere. You never see them again for another 3 or 4 weeks.
Right.
I've been
Jack's
to
a
those
cracker.
nightclubs.
We love him. Yeah, the boys love him. They reckon he's our best signing. So.
Hey, Rolsey, now a jersey and a position that's very close to your heart. And he came to you originally as a back rower, but are you seeing the transformation of front rowers now that they're a little bit more lower to the ground, a lot more powerful and quicker leg speed? Because Jack Williams last night was really explosive and got you on the front foot.
Yeah, no, Jack was probably one of his best games he's had for us. He's been one of our most consistent performers. So he's, we've seen that again last night. He started in the back row last night, but we've got him to play through the middle. His versatility is pretty invaluable to us at the moment, whilst the younger guys getting the handle of the pace of the game and that type of thing. So, I agree with him, mate. He was outstanding last night.
Rosie, I thought it was Dylan Brown's best game this season. Obviously, it's taken a little while for him to settle down after all the drama around his contract earlier in the year. Just tell us about how his mindset is. I saw him interviewed actually after the game on Fox Sports last night, and he just seemed so much calmer in himself and the decision that he's made, and things have settled down. Obviously, with Moses coming back, just talk to us about how Dylan's travelling at the moment.
Yeah, no, I think you're pretty right there. I think it's probably he's had a really good month of footy, especially since Mitchell comes back. He certainly helps him with the organisational part of the team and frees him up a little. So, but yeah, no, you're right. We probably protect the boys a fair bit in regards to being coaches and that type of thing. But he wasn't himself there for a couple of weeks when all the decision was happening, and it's pretty natural, or I think it's pretty understandable the human nature of the decision he had to make and the magnitude of it, and there was a lot of commentary around it. So, but on the back of that, we've been really supportive of him as a footy club, understanding of it, and I think he's come through the other side, and he's the last month has probably been his most solid block of footy. He looks freer, he's running the ball, and he's a really good defensive player as well for us, which he probably doesn't get credit for. So he's been building his game on that, which has only been good for our team.
Yeah, no, he put on a show last night, especially in front of his new club. Now, on the text line, Rolsey, Nathan says, I'd like to know from the coach how he can transform a winger up to a bench second row. I thought Jordan played very well last night and grabbed a try, and that's Jordan Samrani as well. So what was the process around that?
Yeah, so when he first come, he's on train and trial at the moment. He's an outside back. He's had quite a bit of bad luck with injuries over the past couple of years. He's been out of the Dogs system, so he's obviously been well coached there, and he's basically trained every session in the pre-season, which was probably the first time he's done that since he's come into grade. So that's probably the first thing. And then the next bit was Brownie's had experience with putting Ben Cray and Big Bo Scott into the back row from outside backs. And when he first came to the club before Christmas, Brownie sort of mentioned it, and then we sort of let him train and play and that type of thing. And then the opportunity come up with Laney not being around to go into the back row, and he was open to it. And I think we might have found ourselves a back row that can play centre now rather than a centre that can play back row. But we'll let that to keep evolving. And he's really bought into it, which is probably the main thing. If he wasn't going to buy into it, I was on the back of Brownie, so I'll give him the credit there.
Nice.
I wanted to ask, I know I was joking before at the top there about Brownie, but what's it like having him, someone who you've got such a long association with, what's it like having him, on your coaching staff, Rosie?
Oh, for me, it's been invaluable. I wanted to get a guy that had experience in head coaching on the staff, and then it just happened that Brownie ticked a couple of boxes. He'd been experienced in coaching. He'd been in clubs that have been in similar situations, and then he's also got a real keen eye for the attack as well. That's kind of his passion with regards to footy. So ticked a lot of boxes, and he's been he's been enormous for me in regards to just an ear and a calming influence and that type of thing. So he's been really helpful, and hopefully we can keep him there for a few years yet.
He's a quality human also, Brownie. Hey, the fullback, Isaiah Yongi, I watched a lot of him at Penrith coming through the junior reps and playing New South Wales Cup, and always very impressive. And he always knew that he would have had to have moved on behind Dylan Edwards. I've just slowly seen him, Ryles, he just slowly starting to transform and feel really confident in the position now that the jersey is his for a period of time.
Yeah, I think Isaiah's a perfect example of just being patient and doing your time in Cup. So he had 60 games in New South Wales Cup behind Dylan Edwards, basically watching and imitating him for 3 years. So, and then he's come into first grade and he's hit the ground running. So instead of, a lot of kids now just want to get a pathway through to NRL as quickly as possible, I think he's a bit of a poster boy for just take your time, get into a good system, and then just make sure that you're taking advantage of all the resources that you have at your disposal to be the best you can be, rather than just trying to play first grade as soon as you can. So we knew that when we did the background on him, and he fit exactly what we wanted. So he's come on probably a little bit quicker than we thought, but we'll take it.
Yeah, nice work, nice. And now, before we let you go, we ask every winning coach on a Saturday for temper, who are one of our good supporters of the show, a great night's sleep night after night. Who's a player, Rylesy, that would have had a good night's sleep last night based on their performance?
Oh, I think we've had a couple. Jack Williams,
Yep.
Mitchell. Zach would have rested well, especially after his first game. So, and getting through the work that he did, but. Yeah, probably those three, just off the top of my head. But I think they all would have slept pretty well. It's a pretty heavy track, so they sort of come off a bit cooked. So it was, I think they all would have had a good sleep, mate.
Good stuff. Now, one of our mad Parramatta fans, Steve from Dubbo, says, my advice to Rylesy, get his acceptance speech ready for Coach of the Year. Rylesy,
there you go.
Congratulations
Boom.
on last night. Have a great weekend, mate.
That's not me mum, is it? Or my uncle?
He'll claim that. Have a great weekend, pal. Thank you, mate.
Thanks, Rylesy.
Appreciate it, boys. Thanks for your time.
Hey, let's get to a break here on Saturday League Kickoff. And after the break, some of the big news throughout the week. Yeah, welcome back to the show on this very fine Saturday morning, wherever you're watching. I know in southeast Queensland there's a little bit of rain, and Sydney at the moment looks okay. I woke up at 5:30 in Penrith this morning. There was fog everywhere. It would have been
a bit cool out at Penrith.
A little bit cool. I love the coolness. But, hey, I want to also say...
You're a cool kind of guy.
You made a really good point during the break that since the show has started live on Fox League and KO and on SEN Network as well, as we've had some great access to the winning coaches on Saturdays.
The coaches have been fantastic. Yeah. Every interview we've had on this show so far with the coach has been really good, and we really appreciate their time. I know it's their morning off after a big win. Some might be a little bit hazy.
Yep.
But we appreciate them coming on and giving us some good insights with some really good just footy talk.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what this show's about, just some straight-out footy. Although there is a little bit of news, which we're going to dive into right now.
We're going to dive into now. Great segue. But
do you like that?
Firstly, can I say the NRL Panthers and Cowboys trainers Shane Elford and Mitch Dunn suspended for wetting the ball in last week's game, the Cowboys, and the 30-all draw against the Panthers. Now, the NRL... So it's a contravention of the NRL rules. They reminded all the clubs that the limitation of their roles. Now, they've both been suspended for 2 weeks and 1 week suspended. And get this, a $10,000 fine. Now, we're going to take $3,000 off a player that unintentionally crushes a player or makes careless tackle with head high, $1,500, whatever it may be. We're going to hit a coach that questions the integrity of an official for $20,000.
10, 20, 50.
But we're going to fine 2 club representatives for putting water on a synthetic waterproof ball in a game that's going to have sweat and dew, whatever it may be, we're going to fine them $10,000 and suspend them. Rather than saying, hey, you know what, not ideal, just don't do it again. If you do it again, we're going to fine you, and it's going to come out of your pocket.
Can I just look at it from a journalistic point of
Go.
view? What is going on with tabloid headline writers? If that is not Watergate, I'll give it away.
Yeah.
Where's the Watergate headline? Seriously, that was just ridiculous.
We could have used it on ours.
We should have done
show
it
as
ours.
well. We didn't. Yeah.
Hey,
the big-
can we change that super? Can we get
Actually,
Watergate up there, please?
can I ask Pete?
Come on, you've dropped the ball there, brother.
Can I ask Pete, our audio guy, is Tubes in the room when we talk about that $10,000 fine? Has he got anything to say?
Come on, that's
Thank
ridiculous.
you very much. Hey,
I miss Tubes.
Yeah, so
I
do
miss
I.
Tubes.
Well,
He's
shout
good
out
on
to Tubes.
360, but I want him back as a coach in some capacity.
I love it when he gets his hands on and he starts leaning forward. And that's when
on.
his head starts exploding.
It's
It's
very good.
outstanding.
One of the
Now,
greats.
some of the news of the week, it probably hasn't been massive news, but some breaking news only over the last 20 minutes is that Martin Tapau and the Brisbane Broncos is being reported have parted ways immediately. So both parties have agreed. And let's touch on that because we were going to talk about Lockie Galvin and the board meeting with the West Tigers, but let's touch on that first with Madge under the microscope. Is it warranted? I don't think it is. Coming into this round, they're sitting 7th.
What the criticism of Madge?
Criticism of Madge and Elijah Taylor, former West Tigers player who was under Michael Maguire. And I've got to say, he's got a really good Instagram page called Footy Hacks. He gives some great advice to players coming through. But I thought from his experiences with Madge, which obviously he doesn't think they were ideal, I didn't think it was right to publicly slam him. And for Martin Tapau to like that is not ideal.
I love the modern world and modern sport that you can have your contract torn up
Yep.
for liking an Instagram post.
Well,
I think there might have been a bit more to it
Well,
than
it
that.
speaks volumes of the person that's liking it and agreeing to the comments that are made. And when you're being coached by the player, I mean, you've just got to be like a ninja. You've got to fly under the radar and do what you've got to do. But with the criticism of Madge, I will stand for people for weeks and argue in support of Michael Maguire because of the system that he built at Wigan, had success there for Sean Wayne to take over. Mm-hmm. And then he came into South Sydney and won a comp and left a pretty good playing group there as well. And then he goes into the New South Wales Blues and creates a really good template there for Laurie Daly and New South Wales fans. Goes to New Zealand and basically just bullies the Australian Kangaroos in a final. So there's no argument that the guy shouldn't be an NRL coach.
1,000%. Look, and this is, as I made this point on 360 on Tuesday, it's round 10 in his first year. Like, let's just wait and see how it plays out. And as I also said, and I've said on 360, and I said when the Broncos signed him, it's Madge. That's exactly what they knew what they were getting. He's an intense guy. And some would suggest that's exactly what the Broncos needed after they finished 12th last year with a coach in Kevin Walters, who's the absolute bipolar opposite. You know, like it's. Do they want success at Brisbane or not? Well, you know, and if he's driving the players mad with his methods and driving them too hard, then some would suggest that maybe it's the players and not Madge. I just think it's so easy to suggest that Madge's methods are outdated or he drives them all mad. That's just what happens. You know, that's the way that he coaches, and you're either with him or against him. But to be putting it on the coach after 10 rounds, I think is very, very unfair. And I'm glad Payne Haas came out and said that it's not right. I've got to say, I've heard the same whispers out of Brisbane that not so much that the players were unhappy, but others within the organisation just couldn't really keep up with how full on Madge is. But again, I'll say it again. That's exactly what he's like, and to also say that he was the reason for what's happened at the West Tigers, that he's to blame. That's weak. That's so wrong. Yeah. That's so wrong. I know the people at the West Tigers, the former people of the West Tigers, who are responsible for trying to thread that narrative, and it's not right.
Do you know, I agree with everything you said there, Webby. Well said.
Good.
And with
Because if you didn't,
bad luck.
it's going to be showtime.
I feel as though sometimes I thought the story that Buzz wrote around the boat trip and going out to Fort Denison and having Tom Slingsby, a gold medalist, to come and talk to them about adversity and how to bring yourself together as a team. I thought it wasn't fair, to be quite honest. And also, if there are players that are complaining, I would suggest that some of those would be ones that aren't playing first grade. And also, if there are going to be players that are going to complain, and there may be one, there may be two, there may be 10, I don't know. It gets to the stage where Dave Donaghy, the CEO, has got to meet with the playing group and say, and this is probably a little bit, probably not ideal. Yep.
Go on.
Listen, if anyone wants a release because we're not heading in the same direction as the way the club wants to go, come and see us. And now the big risk of that is just say one of your star players comes to you and go, you know what, I'm not quite happy with what's going on, and I probably want to move on. Well, they're not the guys you want to try and win a comp with.
The biggest issue in this game isn't so much the lack of playing depth or halves depth. It's coaching depth. And if we keep, like we just talked to Jason Ryles about it, people wanted him gone after a few games of his first year. They said the same thing about Ciraldo. Now we're saying it about Madge, asking questions whether he's the right man for the job, which I know that's the media's job, and we speculate and that's what we do on these panel shows and stuff like that. But come on, let's get fair income. We can't be pulling the trigger on coaches, a couple of months into their tenure. I understand where Buzz was coming from. Like, it is, it was a strange little exercise, I reckon, from getting on the boat. But that's Madge. Madge is the type of bloke. I've written stories about this in the past and talked to Madge about it, where he gets the baseball bat and bashes lockers in opposition at opposition grounds, or he'll put a photo up of the best player from the other team with roadkill written across it. And there was one great story. One of the great stories is that when he was at South, he wanted to bring a snake into the dressing room. And Shane Richardson was the CEO, said, Madge, we can't do that because Sam Burgess is scared of snakes. And also, it's a snake. You can't bring a snake into the dressing room before a game. So Madge is a different cat.
But the game the game is littered with coaches that tried different things.
Jack Gibson was the greatest innovator and when it came to that type of stuff. And I remember talking to Mick Cronin about it, and I said, what was it all about? And he goes, we had no idea what half the thing Jack was, but it was just to make us think and just, to change our mindset and just to get our brains moving. And it's like, and it worked. So you look at Michael Maguire, he's won he's won a Super League title, he's won an NRL title, he's beaten Australia in a Test series, and last year won an Origin that no one expected New South Wales to win, particularly after they lost the first game in Sydney. So
Game 3.
That's
do you know
Team Madge.
Do you know Suncorp Game 3 is hard enough, but to be able to do what New South Wales did against Queensland last, but I think what describes his form of coaching was probably played out the best in Game 1. And the reason why I say that is because Joseph Suaalii is sent off. Yeah. They're playing with 12 men, and we're outstanding.
Yeah,
So
they were.
That's probably a true testament of how this guy can get players to believe if they're willing to be obsessed like him.
And then turned it around with some psychological warfare and started talking about, those in glass houses, and no one knew who the hell he was talking about. I don't think he knew who he was talking about, but it got in Queensland's head.
Yep.
I know Ben Eichen came out and said on Paul Kent's podcast this week, I don't think that it got in Billy's head. I have my doubts.
Yeah.
I reckon he'd get into Billy's head because he was very snappy about it, Billy. And that's no disrespect to Billy, but I feel like he was a little bit outcoached in that series, which makes this one coming up in a few weeks such a fascinating one.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, now I want to get on to round 11. How important is it going to be for some players? Is it make or break in some positions? But really quickly, the West Tigers board has been reported throughout the week. They're going to meet in relation to Lachie Galvin and 2026 and how that plays out with his contract. But you're hearing?
I spoke to Shane Richardson, the CEO, this morning. Apparently it's just a scheduled board meeting.
So not extraordinary meeting?
No, it's just a scheduled monthly board meeting at which they will talk about the Lachlan Galvin situation. It's not a board meeting to discuss the Lachlan Galvin situation. So, it's still an issue that's bubbling away there. I've said all along I'd be surprised if he's there next year, but only if the Tigers get out of it what they want.
Yep. I'll be waiting as long as possible because if they make the finals, I'm keeping him there.
I know we had Jason Ryles on earlier. I didn't want to ask him another Galvin question, to be honest, because he'll just go.
We had a few texts about it actually.
Yeah, I know, but what's he going to say? He's not going to say anything. But I will say this: in an interview with Eddie Jones in the Sydney Morning Herald last weekend. So Eddie Jones, who Rylesy was an assistant coach to when he was in England. He was sitting in the box there a couple of weeks ago, and he got interviewed by Tom Decent of the Sydney Morning Herald.
It was a great interview.
It was a great interview, but there was a line in there that said, I think they've got Galvin. So I don't know if Eddie's let the cat out of the bag, but that's a pretty strong indication of where he's probably going at some point.
So Origin decision time. We've got a text here from, it's Craig, says, from Redfern. Big fan of the show, boys. Thank you very much. Does Jacob Carraz deserve a debut for the Blues? Yes, he does. Yes, he does deserve it. But it didn't help that Zach Lomax came out and played well last night as well.
I just think with those type of selections, I just think going up to Suncorp in an opener is not the place to do it.
Do you think these kids these days, they're a little bit more impenetrable but these days? Like not as intimidated?
It's Origin. It's Suncorp up there.
Yeah.
To be honest, I had Turbo instead of Lomax on the wing.
Really?
I did, just for that.
As a Queenslander, I hope you picked Turbo on the wing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I've changed my mind.
Okay.
After that last night, when Zach Lomax came out and ran for 271 metres, scored 2 tries and had 2 line breaks, I decided to change my mind.
Hey, we should pick teams that the other state
for each other. Okay.
The team that we want you to pick. Yeah.
What?
So a team that we want you to pick. I want Toby on the wing for New South Wales.
Are you knocking Turbo?
No, I just don't think I think you're wasting him on the wing.
He's played on the wing before.
I know he has, but
you know what the problem I find with Turbo? He just looks a little bit green.
He looks a little bit ginger.
He just doesn't look like he's.
But he's
right
a super athlete, and we know that super athletes find a time in big events.
And he's an Origin specialist.
He is.
And that's important.
Round 11. Is there any positions that come to mind, and while you're thinking about that, is there going to be the make or break? I think from a Queensland perspective, I'm not sure whether the back row makeup. I know there's sort of 4 or 5, but who actually starts is something that Bill. Do you think both teams are locked and loaded now?
Pretty much.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm assuming it would have been that. I reckon Lomax probably sealed his position last. So I haven't spoken to Laurie. That's just a feeling, and that's as good as anything these days. I think
you got to get any feeling.
And I think if there was any doubt in Laurie's mind about who the 5/8 was, then I think Mitchell Moses showed last night that he's the man.
Is it fair to say the starting back row for New South Wales is? I think there's Liam Martin. You think he'd be the right side, left side Angus Crichton, or is it Hamali Olakawatu on the right side? You got Hudson Young based on purely statistics.
I think,
and the influence he's had a game that would he start on the left?
I think Hudson would be on the bench.
Yep. Okay.
That's where I'd have him. But I said this. People won't agree with this. I'm picking Jake.
I am too, and you know why? Is because I know how important those players are to a team, especially when you're in camp. And the first 15 minutes defensively, I mean, he gets in the face of your opposition. He cuts you down with his great technique. But our very own colleague Justin Horoscope, he convinced me even more last week when he was on the captain's run during the week, and he said, when you talk to Jake Trbojevic, he makes you smile, he makes you relaxed. He makes you fall in love with the game. And I thought, you know what, as a Queenslander, I felt, I hope they don't pick Jake Trbojevic because that's how important he is to the playing group.
Can you Queenslanders stop telling us who we should and shouldn't pick?
Well, we don't care about New South Wales. So, hey, Laurie.
I tell you what, for someone who doesn't care about him, you're talking about him a lot.
I am, actually. Hey, 0457 736 736 is our text line. And if you want to give us a call as well, 1300 01 1170. We're going to get to a break. And after the break, we're going to get to some of your texts. Hey, welcome back to the show. End of the first hour. Thank you very much to all our viewers through Fox League and KO and all our listeners through the SN network as well. And thanks for all your interaction. We love this collaboration between Fox League and SEN and everyone who's watching the show and listening is getting involved as well. That's exactly what we love. We're going to get to some texts and just some breaking news that we touched on earlier on. If you're only just joining us, Martin Tapau and the Brisbane Broncos have parted ways. What's the word?
Well, apparently the story written on the
amicably?
Amicable split.
Amicable split. There you go. Read that as you may.
Mutual agreement.
Hey, thanks to Winghouse, the best seats and beers always guaranteed. I was there over Magic Round. It was outstanding. I was in a coma of wings on a Saturday afternoon.
How many you have?
Oh,
How many you have?
I can't. It would have been easily 2.5 kilos of wings.
What?
Easy.
You animal.
I know. Hey, morning, gents. Is there any chance the future selections, this is Hillstorm Hillary, who is a mad Storm supporter, selections could be telecast live Sunday night, 8:30. Start with the captains and the coach reading out the team, then go back in numbers. 9 would probably have the rights. Well, are you saying have they tried it before or not?
They've done announcements before. New South Wales did it where they had the team there and they all came out one by one. The problem is that they all, because both states want to get a jump on and start their preparations as early as possible. So they're wording up clubs and football managers well in advance.
Yeah.
The problem is that just means it's going to get leaked out and printed in online. And
people like you making phone calls.
Not
on
me.
a Sunday
I haven't been after those stories. I'm above that stuff. If I did know them, I probably would report.
Hey, so
those.
New South Wales were contemplating Sunday night or Monday announcement.
I know.
Queensland's always Monday.
I can't really work my head. It's like, well, and the argument is, why would New South Wales give Queensland
well, there's
an
a late
extra day?
game at Campbelltown, of course.
That's right.
West Tigers and
That's
South.
right.
So, and they want to get it out before the news.
Well,
So
make
that-
sure it's there for the news.
And that means
That's all that matters.
That means you've got to do it before the West Tigers
game
as well. So, anyway.
I'm happy. The teams are the teams, right?
Madge under the microscope. It seems like the players would nearly prefer to coach themselves, Dylan says. Looking at the post-game press conference after last weekend's loss, it seems like Adam Reynolds has pretty poor attitude when things aren't going his way. No, he's just disappointed. He's
got a bad poker face.
Yeah,
Renault.
exactly.
It's funny, I said that on Morning Glory yesterday. Maybe they should just coach themselves.
Yeah.
Seabold, Kevy,
Yep.
Madge. Maybe they need make Renault captain coach.
Can I just say, this is not a majority of the players. It is only a select few that are starting to make waves. And like I said, some of them, they're not getting picked in first grade. So the only way they can have any opinion about what's going on at the club they can is to moan and whinge. So it's been happening since 1908.
Some of us have made a good career out of whinging.
Hey, before we get to the end of the first hour, Bears coach. Now, it was Brad Arthur. We're led to believe 3 weeks ago. The ARLC are handling these interviews. They've named a new CEO of the Bears as well, former boss of Channel 7 over there. Smart move.
No.
Smart move.
You reckon?
Well, at least they get
Well,
someone
it's good they got a
landscape.
Oh, they got a journo as I'm sure he knows how to run a footy club and build one from the ground up.
That's all right. As long as he knows business, media, and communicates with the community, let the general manager of rugby league and the coach do what they do best.
Sure.
Okay? And he's got to know a little bit of finance. We know that. Meninga has jumped in at the last moment.
Mal's put his hand up. They're in negotiations with Brad Arthur and Mal Meninga as we speak. I reckon Mal's a no-brainer if they can match his asking price. I think he'd ask for a bit more than Brad Arthur.
Led to believe announced maybe at the end of next week.
Probably.
Yeah.
I think Mal would be great. Mal would be a great move. He's got that gravitas. As long as, again, he has the right assistant coaches around him, I think he can be like a Kevin Sheedy figure, like Kevin Sheedy was for GWS in Sydney and Ron Barassi for the Swans. If they can get Mal and, again, get the right people around him. I like what Denning Kemp said on the show yesterday about Josh Hannay being an assistant that could do a good job alongside Mal. So if they can get Big Mal, it's a win for the Bears.
Luke at Port Kembla says, good morning, brothers. Could you give a great shout-out to my young fella Benji watching on KO with me? We'll be out getting out to Campbelltown tomorrow for the Mighty Tigers. Hello, Benji. Is that Benji Marshall? Not quite sure.
Maybe it is.
Maybe
Thanks,
it is.
Ben.
Hey, thanks for joining us on the first hour. Now, if you are a Fox League viewer, you are leaving us right now, but you can still listen to the second hour of the show if you download the SEN app. If you don't have it, it's very easy to do. This is Saturday League Kickoff. Scotty Sattler, Andrew Webster. More to come. Second hour. of Saturday League kickoff. Scott Sattler, Andrew Webster. We've got across a number of issues in the game. There's the Bears. There's Michael Maguire under the microscope again, and also the Friday night games. We're going to touch on the Thursday night State of Origin, Women's State of Origin, very soon as well. Now, if you missed the first hour, you can get it easy on the podcast. Wherever you get your podcasts from, get on the SEN app. You can listen to the podcast as well. We had Jason Ryles in the first hour talking about their win against the Knights. I know coaches are stressed always, and I've only had a little to do with Jason Ryles other than playing against him and then post-career, but he just seems like an affable sort of guy.
He's
very laid back, and
I covered his career.
I'm a Dragons fan as well.
I'm a Dragons fan, and rode the roller coaster with every other Dragons fan, as Jason Ryles did. And it's very unfortunate that that crop of players, Rylesy, Trent Barrett, others didn't manage to win a comp.
Yep.
05 I thought was their best year.
Yep.
So and 06.
It was always going to be Para and Dragons that year, wasn't it? Yeah.
Still a sore point, but yep. But he's a great man, and they say he's a tremendous coach. I talked to people like Craig Bellamy and Frank Panisi at Melbourne, and obviously Eddie. I've spoken to Eddie Jones about him as well back in the day, and they all rated him as a coach. So he was very, very close to going to the Dragons.
Can I ask you when they say what are some of his best attributes as a coach? What are they?
I think he's a good man manager. Yep. He gets on exceptionally well with the players.
Yep.
And that was always the rap on him at most of the clubs that he's been an assistant coach. It must be difficult. Like the pathway for coaches is a tricky one. And I think we're seeing it a little bit with Adam O'Brien at Newcastle. And this is no disrespect to Adam, because I think he's obviously a great coach. But things aren't going great at Newcastle. And, he had probably the best pedigree out of the lot. Spent time under Craig Bellamy and the time under Trent Robinson at the Roosters. I still think there is so much value, and this is where I think it's great for Sam Burgess. Look, I'm just saying this because I hear it from other club bosses regularly. You've got to coach a first-grade team.
Yeah.
You've got to, whether it's in the State Cup here, there's 2 State Cups here, or the Super League. And I think that's going to help Sam in the long run being coach of Warrington. And I think that, that was what it helped Trent Robinson and helped Michael Maguire. There's just so much value in actually coaching, at the top, senior football, not necessarily at the top level, but it's a great apprenticeship. So, Jason is probably finding his feet as a coach at Parramatta. Again, I couldn't believe the calls for him against him. Early on in his tenure.
We're not a very patient game, are we?
We're very. It's like from week to week. This is the best player in the world. This guy's a dud. Let's get rid of him.
I've been actually doing a bit of work on some coaches around the game here in the UK, and doing a bit of research on them and looking into Sam and just talking to some people about what's his style of coaching. They're saying he's coaching at the moment purely on emotion, because he's still got this aura about him. When he walks into the room, all the air gets sucked out of the room, and players sort of look at him because he's only just recently retired. And but also there's a really good grab on one of the social media platforms that it's him talking to a 17-year-old who's about to make his debut for the Warrington.
I saw it. It's incredible.
It's amazing the way that and I know he knows he's probably mic'd up, but it's just pure emotion. He talks to this kid, he calms him down, but he also builds this kid with so much confidence that I wouldn't pick you if I didn't think you were ready. Kid goes out, plays his debut at 17.
How good.
Yeah.
I saw some footage the other day of after a Warrington win at home, and the crowd, Sam was there, saluting the crowd, and they were going absolutely bonkers for him. So you're right, he's a great Sam Burgess.
Yep, absolutely. Now, we're also going to have Toby Sexton, the Bulldogs half, coming on soon, very soon as well. And breaking news in the first hour, if you've only just joined us, is that Martin Tapau and the Brisbane Broncos have, under amicable terms, parted ways, which is always going to happen when Martin Tapau foolishly likes the post of a former player that was playing under Michael Maguire. So it was always only going to be one way, I think.
I would love to write a list of all the players or all the athletes in world sport who have had their contracts torn up because of a social media incident.
Yeah. There's so much more to it, but it
There's
means
always,
so much more.
I know.
Isn't
it?
It's trying to subliminally send a message.
I remember Josh Dugan was about to sign a massive deal at the Broncos.
Yeah.
And then he posted something ridiculous on Instagram, and they just yoinked the contract straight away. It's like, good way to cost yourself $600,000 a year.
In some cases, it's a window on the soul of someone.
It's a window. God, don't look at my Instagram.
Hey, Rodney is text the show 0457 736 736. Up the doggies. Simple as that.
Oh.
Up the doggies.
Short and sweet.
Yep. Hey, also, we're going to talk about Thursday night's game, the Women's State of Origin. We're going to do that now. 26-6 convincing winners, the New South Wales Blues over Queensland. And it was, second half, they just proved that John Strange, I've got to applaud you as a coach. He has done an amazing job, not only with the Roosters last year, but also this New South Wales side, the selection process. He picked big, strong, fast players who basically just knocked down the front door of Queensland. But defensively, all their little tiny defensive efforts were so impressive. They just blew Queensland off the park.
It was, I tell you what, it was an Origin too.
Yeah.
God, they rip in.
And what about the conditions and the ball movement in the conditions?
Didn't even care that
amazing.
It was
What's going on with the Allianz and the water? Actually, no, let's not.
Well, it's like it's a drop-in pool. They decided to put a drop-in pool in the middle of Allianz in the $850 million I don't know. There's issues there.
Yep.
In some defence, and I know this is only very minor, Sydney's had 21 days of rain in the last 24 days. Like that said though, Acor held up last night.
Yep.
Combank's holding up. There's plenty of grounds around the country that are holding. I mean, look at Suncorp. It's getting torrential rain regularly. It's holding up. I don't know what's at play there, but it's getting a lot of traffic. That doesn't help. They get the Waratahs play there as well. Sydney FC. It gets a lot of games, but I'm sorry, but that you could tell from the get-go of that match that it was going to be a bog, but it didn't stop the expansive football that was played.
Yeah, it was a torrid affair. Physical, New South Wales were defensively. Olivia Koenig, absolutely outstanding. She was by far the player of the match. She had 20 runs, 169 metres, 25 tackles as well, scored a couple of tries. Tamika Upton may be out for game 3 with an upper leg injury. But their captain, Isabel Kelly, she was interviewed after the game because she was asked about this is the second 3-game series, about the first time New South Wales have won under that format.
Unreal. I'm a little bit shocked, to be honest, but I knew we had it in us. We've been coached by the best in John Strange. He brings out the best in every single player, and I don't know, there's something truly unique about this year, and I just knew that we could get it done. It was huge. Liv's a very talented young player. Obviously, we've seen she got the Dally M last year, but she completely opened that up for us, and I'm so proud. I'm so proud of my mates. Everyone killed it.
Yeah, it's how you handle adversity. She gets left out of that Australian side, the Gillaroo side.
Yeah.
When she's won the Dally M, and then she starts off
how
this
you handle
season.
adversity, particularly that dud video referee call.
Oh, that was a try. She was trying to pick the ball up. She didn't try and place it.
Spoken like a true Queenslander.
You've got to give us something. 0457 736 736. And if you want to give us a call, 1300 01 1170. And Mark says, Ryles is a born leader. Teammates say he's the Arnold Palmer of the Sheds. What's that mean?
I don't know.
Calm? Is that it? I don't know. Let us know, Mark. Hey, let's get to a break here on Saturday League Kickoff. Scotty Sattler, Andrew Webster. We're going to be back very soon. Toby Sexton coming up soon. Welcome back. Second hour of Saturday League Kickoff. Scott Sattler, Andrew Webster. We've got a text here also from Steve saying, Webby, how do you coach and do radio? You're a Superman.
Look,
that's obviously he coaches the Warriors as
well.
well.
Yeah, look, it's hard.
We're going to talk
it's
about
hard,
your
but
games,
it's we are second on the ladder, but I don't want to take all the credit. The players deserve some as well.
Hey, thanks to Wing House, the best seats and beers always guaranteed. Hey, we've got plenty of texts coming through. We're going to get to some of these now before we get into Saturday's coverage of the games, which SEN League are covering the first game, the Dolphins versus the Warriors. As a Roosters fan, Josh says, we threw the game away, 17 errors, but the bunker didn't help our cause. Now, I want you to give me a tick or a bumper on these. Toya, downward pressure on the ball.
Bumper.
I agree with you, Josh. Captain's challenge, the
Josh.
ball hits Mark's foot before it hits the ground. Dogs go on to score. I'm not sure about that one.
I vaguely remember that
The Sherry try, double movement. Angus had a hand on him when his ball-carrying arm hit the ground. He then promotes the ball. No, he bounced off. Josh.
There's a bit of a bounce.
I'm sorry. Yeah, there was no... You can still continue to keep moving. and then the arm falls off.
I don't think you can blame the bunker for that Roosters loss.
Yep.
But they should have won it.
Yep.
I mean, they had it won a couple of times.
They did.
But, yeah, it's as I said, it was a cracking game of footy.
But like you said earlier on, if you're only just joining us, I agree with you about the Roosters. They are playing good enough footy to be well entrenched in the finals.
For a team that people had like finishing in the bottom 4 after the first 4 matches of the comp, and then talking about it being a rebuilding year, like they'll be, if they can keep playing of that standard like they did against the competition heavyweights, really, you've got to say, God, they're leading the comp and ahead of the Warriors by 2 wins. They're knocking on the door of the top 4, which I don't think people would have been saying about the Roosters 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Yep. And got Luke Connolly texting from Brisbane as well, saying, I'm spewing my Roosters lost. Love Jason Ryles' interview as well. Do you think the Roosters will make the top 8? I think they will.
Absolutely.
Luke Connolly, absolutely.
I'd have them locked in.
Yep.
Lock it in.
What's your thoughts on Jaden Brayley and the Eels? 418 says, no, he's going to Canberra, isn't he? Which is really, I mean, I know it was announced, but it's because on the back of Tom Starling re-signing and Owen Paddy, who are 2 quality hookers, and Jaden Brayley's going down there basically on a whim and a prayer, really, just to sort of
get his career going.
Get it going.
Again.
Yeah, but he's going to initially start out in the same position he is right now. He's a hell of a player. Both Brayley boys are hell of players.
They are.
Hey, let's get to the Saturday games. SEN League coverage from 2 p.m. as well. Dolphins versus Warriors is the first game. Saturday today, 3 p.m. Suncorp Stadium. Warriors, there'll be a lot of Warriors fans. Now, if it was any indication what Magic Round was 2 weeks ago, I think the Warriors fans will probably outnumber the Dolphins fans. So same 17, the Dolphins from last week. The Warriors aiming for 5 on the trot. Again, they've just been flying under the radar.
They're going great.
Going great. Yeah. So they're currently second, the Warriors.
It's a bit of a graveyard for them, though, Suncorp.
Is it?
Yeah, they've won. I think they've won 2 of the last 8.
Okay, wow. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, he's listed in the reserves. I'm led to believe he will start in the centres, potentially, yeah.
Where'd you get that? Where's that mail come from?
Well, you told me because you're the coach. You're Andrew Webster.
You've got spies everywhere, haven't you?
James Fisher-Harris is set to return from a pec injury. Now, they've been doing what they've been doing without Roger Tuivasa-Sheck.
That's it.
And James Fisher-Harris. That's even more impressive. So well done. Hammer scored 7 tries in his last 5 games at Suncorp. He does love Suncorp Stadium. Hammer expected to be named on Monday in the centres. Many believe that he should be the fullback ahead of Ponga. There were a lot of Queensland fans, including myself, on last night's game when Ponga got up from a play the ball and was limping. But if that happened, you know that there's a pretty ready replacement in the Hammer.
You'd have to pick Ponga.
Yeah, Ponga will be the fullback. I'd be surprised if he's not. I think.
Well, if you're not going to pick him at fullback, you can't pick him.
No, many believe that he probably should be on the bench, but because he's played lock before.
That's right. And he's been good from off the bench.
His debut coming off the bench at lock, he nearly iced the game.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
I'll never forget the game. He got on the outside of Boyd Cordner, and
I like
Tedesco tackled him.
That's right. I like but he's very good in the centres for Queensland. Hammer.
Yeah, he's outstanding.
Yeah, he's been great for them in the past. I know one thing. There'll be plenty of points scored.
Yeah, there will
They
be.
both like to use the ball. It'll be an exciting game.
Warriors
to
have
watch.
been great defensively this year. Really, really good. Dolphins not so much at times. I think on paper, I was arguing with my son this morning. Like he's a rugby league nerd like me, but I was arguing with him on paper with fullback Hammer and the wingers, and you've got Bostock, Asako. You've got Averillo and Farnworth. You've got Nicarima and Isaac Katoa in the halves. On paper, it's one of the most impressive back lines in the comp.
Well, Farnworth is almost the best centre in the comp at the moment.
Yeah.
He'd be in the top 3. That said, though, like you look at, I think the Warriors have got so much strike, and they've got so much class and so many young players coming through. Obviously, with Metcalf, Fisher-Harris is a big in. He's a big in for them to come back straight into the starting team.
It's just like we talked about that earlier with Sam Burgess in the aura. He's apparently doesn't say a lot, but just his presence alone, he's like one of those guys. You just don't want to disappoint him. You don't want him to look at you with sad eyes, which means eyes of disappointment.
Sad eyes.
Sad eyes. It's a bit like Droopy. Droopy the dog. Metcalf has been great.
He has.
6 tries, 6 games. Many thought that he was going to be able to control a side with number 7, but he's just he's doing a great job.
But I mean, you have a front row of Fisher Harris, Barnett, and Wade Egan who, wouldn't look out of place in a sky blue jumper. I don't think it's going to happen, but he is. I've said on the show before, he's a crafty 9.
I wouldn't expect.
We love a crafty 9.
When you mentioned Catewell, I expect Catewell to go back in the back row, maybe near Cora to the bench and RTS start maybe. Let's see how that plays out. Now, that is, of course, like we said, SEN League is going to cover that game at Suncorp Stadium live. Cowboys up against the Seagulls, 5:30, Queensland Country Bank Stadium. Now, again, it's how the rounds play out and how ironic that DCE, who you would think would be named captain and halfback for Queensland on Monday, Tommy Dearden playing halves for Cowboys, who would be named at number 14, you would think, as well. Coming up against each other for this game. Tommy Dearden, for me, I think has been probably one of the top 5 players in the comp this year.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you think there's ever a world where, like after this year, who with Dearden and Munster in the halves?
I think it will be potentially. I think next year. We've spoken about this before. I think whoever signs Daly Cherry Evans, and just say it is the Roosters or the Bulldogs for what is. It would be best if you retired because we want you to win a comp as a senior player. We want to win another comp as well.
I know there's influential people at the Roosters who think if we get Cherry Evans, we don't want him playing for Queensland, which is fair enough.
I think that's fair.
Particularly if they're going to throw a truckload of money. I mean, just in the sense that, Dearden can play 7?
Dearden, easy.
Yeah.
Well, he's a natural 7 anyway. Yeah. And the 6s and 7s doesn't really
matter anymore.
Doesn't matter anymore. Yeah, at all.
It doesn't.
No.
And that's always, I always find this because it's the same debate that's going around Moses and Cleary. No. Do you
depending on the game?
But don't you reckon
that's
always been rep footy?
Yeah.
Like if the 2 best halves, no matter whether they've got the 6 or the 7 on their back, they work it out anyway because they can.
Yeah. Cameron Munster didn't play in last year's series, and neither did Nathan Cleary. So Cleary's definitely going to play because they had the bye this week. Munster's got to get through this weekend's round, but again, they didn't play. Such influential players on their origin sides are going to be in this series this year. So from a Laurie Daly point of view, he's thinking everything was great last year. We won the series, but Cameron Munster didn't play. He can single-handedly dismantle New South Wales, and he's done it in the past. Queensland on the flip side, so Billy Slater says, wasn't ideal. We got beaten by New South Wales, but guess what? Even Cleary wasn't even there last year.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
This is the other thing with Laurie. When Laurie was coach of New South Wales the first time, he didn't have anywhere near the playing depth that he has now. Like I remember talking to Laurie. He was struggling for a 7 there for a lot of years, and that's why when they beat arguably the best Queensland team ever in 2014, where they basically tackled their way to a series win, that was one of the great sort of coaching performances. But things are different this time.
Yeah, you're right.
He's got so much depth in so many positions, including the halves. So, and again, that sort of brings its own sort of set of challenges, really, isn't it? Because you don't know who to leave out.
You're right. What I can't wait for this game, the Cowboys and Seagulls, is Jackson Purdue moved into the number 6 jersey.
You're a Purdue fan.
I've got a bit of a man crush on the kid, to be honest.
Really?
Interviewed him on Sports Day, myself and Rat, and he's so mature.
Was he?
Amazing. I watched a fair bit of him in junior reps.
Yeah.
He plays, when he runs the ball in the way that he moves a little bit like Sean Johnson. Just that real velvety velvety sort of movement when he steps off both feet and he's got the ball in hand. He moves a lot like Sean Johnson.
Just very quickly, Sean Johnson killing it on Fox.
How good is he?
I love it.
He's
so
inside
good.
of it. And he's got a little bit of humour to him as well.
And he's very, very excited.
Cheeky. Yeah.
He's very excited.
I like it.
Keep going.
So that first game, Dolphins-Warriors, tough one to pick.
Warriors.
I think I'm going just Warriors.
The boys have trained well this week. I don't know if they're listening to what I'm saying, but I haven't lost the dressing room yet, but I think Warriors.
Cowboys and Seagulls.
Cows.
Yeah, I think Cows as well. Yeah. And the final game, the Sharks versus Storm, 7:35 at Sharks Stadium. It's a tough one.
Ooh.
Very tough one.
Ooh.
I do like the way that Cronulla just went and hijacked 4 Pines last week. Many are saying Manly played bad, and they did. They look flat. But also, the Sharks suffocated them. They were really professional in their game last week. Nico was running. He was outstanding. I thought really professional win again last week.
It's hard to always tip against the Storm, but if I was having a bet, the $2.45 for the Sharks looks quite appealing.
Quite appealing.
Gamble responsibly.
Now, Nico Hines versus Jerome Hughes, great friends. Here's Nico he said that last week. It's great to go to play the Melbourne Storm. I get to catch up with a lot of my old teammates. I love his honesty.
I also like how he said this week, it's so good to be not talking about Origin.
Yeah. Bit of pressure off your back. Harry Grant listed in the reserves, expected to play, even if he doesn't play from that hamstring injury. Still believe that he will be picked on Monday, as you would as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you have to,
Yeah,
especially with Benny Hunt out.
You'd have to get him in there.
Yep. Some of your texts. Before we get to the news, Marky Mark is definitely more than a capable replacement for Suaalii. 2, Allianz built on reclaimed swampland, as a from DY says. Thanks for your text, 0457 736 736. Birthday belated wishes, Webby. Webby, 50 is the new 30, so they say. The Storm's Justin Rodsky, Frank Panisi throwing their toys out of the cot about missing out on Vegas. Stormy Daniel, I heard you yesterday on Matty Johns.
I thought it was crazy. I think it's crazy.
It is. They would be.
I'm not. I think it's crazy that they're not there.
Well, as you lead into the first week, or you're approaching the first week of AFL, they're going to be dominating the Victorian news cycle somewhere in that week. It's exactly what you want.
My whole argument, and I made this argument walking out of the stadium in Vegas earlier this year, is there were 4 games and there was only one good one.
Yep.
And you need a quality team like Melbourne. Like I understand the importance of fan bases. Melbourne's got 31,000 members. Mm-hmm. They've got an Origin there next year. They've been the dominant team of the last 25 years. I know a couple of those.
One of the most entertaining teams.
One of the most entertaining teams. I don't know. To me, it's just a no-brainer.
Yep.
And Newcastle are in all sorts at the moment.
Yep.
So I know that might change with Dylan Brown there next year, but I think you need a class act like Melbourne at that game. Yeah, well said. We're going to get to more of your text after the news, and we're going to get to Toby Sexton as well here on Saturday League Kickoff. Love your text, 0457 736 736. If you want to give us a call, 1300 01 1170. Scott Sattler, Andrew Webster in the chair. And before we get to our special guest, Toby Sexton, boys, the styles they play, Cowboys v Storm, would be sensational in Vegas. Got to agree as well. And the Bears, I know Magic Round. Some of the texts here about the Bears and Magic Round. 27 is still at Suncorp. But would you take Magic Round to Perth? Every team in there. Dominate the weekend. Keep it in Queensland.
Make it all about rugby league.
I would not be. Why would you move it from Suncorp from Brisbane, where it's been so successful?
But if you want to send a massive message to the AFL and the community, with all the teams in one place in 27, it would make sense.
Stuff the AFL. Keep it in Brisbane.
I love your attitude. He is flying, this young man. Try scorer last night as well. And the Bulldogs, well, they've come from behind again against a quality match. The Roosters as an opponent last night. Toby Sexton joins us on the show. How are you, Toby?
I'm good, boys. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you very much. We know how difficult it is the morning after a game. A lot of players like to relax and do whatever they do. So how are you waking up as a player that has not been used to playing in a side that's leading the comp? Tell me just about the difference in feeling that you have as a young half, being in the position you are at the moment at a club like the Bulldogs.
Yeah, it's obviously it's a pretty good feeling at the moment. You're always pretty sore after games, but I'm getting pretty used to winning at the moment, and that certainly makes it a lot better the next day. And it was again the same thing last night. Obviously, pretty poor first 40 from us, but the way we were able to win it in the end was pretty special, and there's definitely a good vibe around the club at the moment.
Toby, thanks so much for joining us. It's been great watching the Bulldogs and yourself this season. I reckon that was the game of the year. That was so enthralling to watch. What did Ciro say to you guys at halftime?
Yeah, he was pretty calm actually. I thought we didn't play overly that bad in the first 40, but just got a couple of things wrong and kind of come in the sheds a little bit frustrated. But Cameron kind of gave us a really clear and simple message, and it was all around our set ends where we were turning over the ball, and then also just changing a few things up in attack. And I thought we did them nicely, and he was kind of certain if we could do them, well then the scoreboard will kind of take care of itself. And we managed to do that pretty well in the second half.
He doesn't seem like a yeller. Doesn't seem like he'd shout too much, Ciro. Does he bark too much if you're not playing well?
No, he doesn't actually. It's quite surprising. He's always, sometimes after the last couple of games, I'll probably come in the shed thinking we're going to come and spray, but it's the complete opposite of anything, and it kind of installs a lot of confidence in us as boys, and it's always a really simple, clear message, and he's done that with a couple of games lately, and we've been able to kind of get that message across and put it out in the second half and come home pretty strong, which has been nice.
Hey, Toby, you just touched earlier on about the starts to the game. What's been the conversation around that with players and the coach? Can you put your finger on a few occasions now, the Broncos, the Canberra Raiders, and again last night, why it's happening?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I think it's just a combination of a few things. I think between me and Matty Burton, just where we're ending our sets aren't probably good enough, and obviously possession as well. We gave Roosters last night a massive amount of possession in that first half. I think it was over 60%, and as you know, every team in the NRL has got such quality attack, and when you're given Roosters too many good opportunities, they're going to take care of it. So I think it's just a matter of being able to even up possession and ending our sets in better positions. If we can do that, well then hopefully don't have to come back from behind at half time.
Now, Toby, I listened to Jacob Carraz on the podcast with Paul Kent and Johnny Elias. It was a really good chat with Jacob Carraz. I haven't had a lot to do with Jacob, but he talks about, I've got a lot of man crushes, Webby, as you know, in the game, and one of them's Stephen Crichton.
It's a bit creepy, to be perfectly honest.
So, Toby, he talked about Jacob Carraz, and he said the amount of research that Stephen Crichton does on his opposition and the videos that he does just trying to fine-tune who he's going to come up against the following week. He said, I've never seen it before, and it actually set a real precedence for a lot of players, including himself. Has he had that much of an influence? Has he, from the inside, we don't know, but from the outside we can only make assumptions. Has he made that much of a difference to some of the standards in the club?
Yeah, he's honestly, there's not many words to kind of say in regards to the impact he's had for the club. I think he's been the reason why the club's so successful now, and he's just a winner, and everything he does is about winning games on the weekend, whether that's coming into training after a game with review or previewing opposition teams coming up, and just everything he does during the week is just so influential for us players, and I feel like a lot of us players are seeing it and starting to pick up some really good habits from it, and yeah, he's such an inspirational leader for us.
Toby, every time I go on a panel show, 360, SEN, wherever, podcast, whatever, I'm getting sick of being asked what's going on with Toby Sexton and his contract for next year.
So can you tell us?
So no. So I'm not going to ask you about your contract because it seems to be such a bloody cliched question. Yep. What I did want to ask though, mate, is how do you prepare and how do you play and how do you just with that in the background? Do you just you put it in the hands of your manager? Are you talking to the club about it? Like what? How do you just block that out and play the way that you are playing the great footy that you are?
Yeah, it can be difficult at times, to be honest. Obviously, all the unknowns of what next year looks like, but at the same time, I'm in a really fortunate position where our side's playing some really good footy, and we're obviously sitting on top of the ladder. And at the end of the day, I've got a job to do each week, and that's to play a game of footy on the weekend. And all my attention just goes towards that. And it's just about taking each, as cliche as it sounds, it's just about taking each day as it comes. And if I can do that, well, hopefully all the other stuff will kind of sort itself out sooner rather than later.
Hey, Toby, I know that he's one of your teammates and you're obviously going to say something very nice about him, but I love the way – I've always been a fan of Kurt Manns. I just love how he's just so dependable in every position you can throw him. So he's been touted as a potential bench player for Queensland, maybe at worst 18th man in case of HIAs. What's he like? Tell us what he's like around the team and the role that he plays.
Yeah, I've always been pretty close to him when he moved, but I've actually started rooming with him this year, and he's I call him Old Fossil. He's a bit of an old fella like compared to all us young fellas, but he does. I'd be putting him in the Queensland side. The form he's been in this year has just been unreal, and the impact he's had on not only me but a lot of our spine members. He's such a calm, kind of really calm voice for us, and he's been so influential for me. And when we play as well, he's always looking to play and create opportunities, and I've just got to try and get on the back of him. And yeah, he definitely deserves a chance if he gets it.
Toby, if you wanted to know how well the Bulldogs are playing, you just have to look at the fans in the streets of
Yeah.
Belmore. Although I saw footage last night of them going mad, and the spirals in the P1 car park.
Yep.
Like they were like going crazy, dancing in amongst the cars as they were trying to leave the car park. Tell us about how infectious your Bulldogs supporters are.
Yeah, it's obviously enormous. They're the reason why we play each week, and I think they're growing in confidence each week as well, along with us. And you even saw last night for a Friday night game, kind of last time slot of the night at 8 o'clock. I think whether it's a year or 2 years ago, we probably only get 15,000, but last night we had 30,000 there, and they were cheering us on, and they were a big reason why we ended up getting home in the end of the game, I think. And they're so cool to play in front of, and you can't tell me there's any more passionate fans than them in the game. That's for sure.
That's right.
Yeah, they are. It was one of the worst places to play at Belmore Oval in the day back in the day. It was terrible if it was an away side, but their fans love them. Now, what's on your day off? What are you getting up to, Tobe?
I'm actually down at Cronulla Beach at the moment, so I'm down with my girlfriend, and I got my brothers here as well, and we've got a pretty quiet weekend, we haven't had too many Friday night games, so it'd be nice to have a kind of relaxing weekend, and then before you know it, we're playing Dolphins next Thursday night, which will come around quick, so enjoy the weekend and, start prepping for Dolphins.
Do you get back to the Goldie much?
A little bit, sometimes in my buys and that, so we got a couple of days off during our buys, so we've got a buy coming up, and play a couple games in another buy, so I'll be able to get home to the family on the Gold Coast and live it up there.
Yeah, watch out, Burley Pav. Watch out the Burley Pav. Hey, Toby, you are going sensational in these first 11 rounds, and you're a big reason why the Dogs are where they are. So well done. Well done on your performance and the team's performance last night. Thank you very much, mate, for taking time out and joining us.
Thanks, boys. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, he's a good young lad. I remember talking to the Gold Coast Titans guys about him, and he's a really good guy to have him around. Yeah,
and playing good footy.
Yeah,
the try he scored was great last night.
Absolutely, he's got a good combination. He lets Burton do the big plays. He gets the team around the field. He asks a lot of questions.
The Dogs don't want him.
Yep.
The Dragons.
Yeah. Hey, let's get into the Sunday games. Let's touch on those really quickly before we get to a break. And the first one is covered by SEN League. 2 games SEN League is going to cover this week, the first and the third game tomorrow. Broncos versus the Dragons, Sunday 2 p.m, Suncorp Stadium. I love Suncorp Stadium on a Sunday afternoon, better than a Friday night. Ezra Mam is the big story, returns to the side, probably earlier than what many would anticipate, but because of the injury to Ben Hunt, which I'm thinking he may not get back on the field for a long, long time with that hamstring injury at 35 and quite a substantial tear. Ezra Mam, it wouldn't surprise him if he comes off the bench, or do you throw him straight into the deep end?
Just throw him in there.
I agree. Yeah,
I just want to see Ezra play the football that he was playing.
Yep.
Year before last.
Yep.
He was
best support player in the game.
Incredible, and obviously he scored the tries in the grand final, but he was more than just that. He just has so much energy, and he's like a little pinball pinging around, little stocky pinball pinging around the ground. I love those sort of players.
So against South Sydney last week, there were a number of times when the Broncos made a line break, and there was no Broncos players in support, and that's concerning.
That's not a good sign.
Ezra Mam, if he's playing, and Reece Walsh, if he's playing, they're there as an option for support.
You know when they click though, when Brisbane click.
Oh, they're one of the most entertaining.
Well, they're the
sides
team
to
to beat, aren't they?
Yeah, you're right.
They're not the team to beat. They're the team that's going to push. I think Melbourne is still the gold standard, but they're the team that's going to push Melbourne. If they can just get it together.
Yeah, exactly. I think the Broncos win there, and I know you think the Dragons are going to win. Raiders up against the Titans at GIO Stadium Sunday afternoon. Well, if you're a loyal fan.
More hope.
Yeah. Raiders, how they hit back is going to be really important. Matty Nicholson out for 12 weeks, ankle injury as well. They've got Zach Hoskin comes back in there as well. Simi Sasangi. Corey Horsburgh returns. Can you get on the Titans here? Raiders too strong. How they reply?
I just think the Raiders will be too strong. I do think the Titans are an infinitely better team with Kieran Foran's level head in that.
Jersey number 14. Yeah.
It's good to see Foz back.
Yep, absolutely. And the third game and finalises round 11. West Tigers up against the Rabbitohs, and SEN League are going to be covering this from 6 p.m. from Campbelltown as well. Terrell May, even though that he's on the nose the last couple of days, especially after the social media gaming post that went out.
Social media.
It wasn't his post, it was someone else that put it out. Wasn't really respectful towards Blues jerseys. He's still got a chance to impress. Latrell, can he back up from last week? Will he rest on his laurels? Another big question.
I think he'd be... on the eve of Origin selection, I can't see Latrell going into his shell. He's got to be the left centre.
Yeah.
For New South Wales.
I think he's locked in
for me. But I reckon that's a funky game too. Sunday night between those two teams, anything could happen.
Could go anywhere. Absolutely. I am going. I think the Bunnies just get them.
I think so too. I think
it's Golden Point. Ooh. Alex Johnston has been named to make his return as well. But this is more about how the Tigers respond to last week. Okay, humiliated against Melbourne, which they've done to a number of teams. But in saying that, this is going to be how they respond, is how they're going to play the rest of the season. That's what I think about their character. So let's see whether they can all turn up and put a better performance. You're listening to Saturday League Kickoff. Thanks to Winghouse. Let's get to a break. And after the break, we're going to talk about, we're going to get to your texts. Welcome back to the show. We're going to wrap the show up very soon. We're just talking about the Johns brothers. And I remember Tim Sheens used to have this, and this is totally left of centre, but I remember Tim Sheens used to have this video case.
A trove.
Yeah, of all VHS tapes. And he used to have Andrew Johns, Matthew Johns, Andrew and Matthew Johns, Matthew Johns reserve grade, Andrew Johns reserve grade. And he used to make you sit down and watch them.
Oh, my God.
You got to study them.
Where was that?
At the Tigers, last year. Like it was... but not study them to play against them, but he used to always get the halves to sit down and watch them, just to have they used to have their own little plays that no one else knew about.
They went all right, the Johns guys.
Yeah, they went okay.
Well, we were talking about it because that's where I started off as a journo in the Hunter Valley, and I just remember going to Marathon Stadium Sunday afternoon, bright skies, and just watching the Johns boys like they were playing in the park at Cessnock. That's how they used to play.
So
and when they got on a roll, you just couldn't stop them.
Yeah.
It was good to watch. Very privileged to start off covering those guys and covering those teams.
Yeah, the good guys, great family as well. Hey guys, is Madge a club looking at his club history? Not great. I don't think today's players respond to his style. He hasn't learned a thing from his Rabbits tenure and the Tigers tenure. Well, he's had a lot of success. 219. A lot. When you look at his resume, it's one of the most impressive resumes in coaching.
That's not a bad club success, that comp.
Yep.
Everyone keeps talking about the Tigers. That's and
he got the ninth, which is actually like playing top four for the Tigers over the last lot of years. But also,
I think people forget the squad that he had at the Tigers and the circumstances in which he was.
He had a part-time mentality of a few players there as well.
He did, but also, remember the doco?
Yeah.
Tiger Town?
Actually, at the time, people were saying he didn't come across in a really good light. But since then, obviously, he's tasted success with Origin. He's tasted success at national level as well. I actually think it made him come out looking even better. That if you're an elite player willing to play and willing to do whatever it takes to get success, if you get coached by him, well, you'll find some sort of success.
I just thought the fact that he was trying to make some serious change at that club, and then his club bosses threw him under the bus and said, "We're going to have a stack of cameras following you around." Like that was sort of the last thing that he needed, but they did it for money. So,
now we're going to rattle through a few of these texts. He looks like $13 million player, talking about Dylan Brown, because of Moses. So how much is Moses worth, Pat says, yeah?
Well, the other thing I got out of Dylan, is he a halfback?
No, he needs someone inside him that's just controlling the shit.
Well, that's the thing, but he's going up there to be the organising half.
Yeah.
Hopefully maybe they abandon that, don't they?
Knights have been doing the same thing the last 4 years. It's gotten progressively worse. They have made finals, but has to be changed. Yeah, so there's a lot of disgruntled Knights fans, and they've got every right to be at the moment. A lot of love there for Toby Sexton as well. Richard from Melbourne, he's a Melbourne fan. Saved the game last night, 6-6-2 as well. Moses, number 7. Luai, number 6. Cleary, number 13. What?
Ooh.
757? That is unique, I've got to say. I'd like to know from Coach how he can transfer. We mentioned that with Jason Ryles earlier on. And the Bulldogs, very good morning. Satts and Webby just jumped in the driver's seat. 10 hours today, wireless on. How horrible were the Novocastrians? Yes, they were, unfortunately. Hey, thank you for all your texts. Thank you to Jason Ryles, Toby Sexton, all the callers. We didn't get any calls, but text messages as well. Thank you very much, Webby, yourself.
Thank you, Sats.
Thank you to all the team.
Well. Thank you to you
as well. But we're going to throw it over to the Crunch Time team now, which is Scott Sattler and Andrew Webster.